Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Niwot podcast. I'm Joey Hendershot, and today I'm with Tessa Everett. So, how I'm going to introduce you is a little different and something that I sort of just came up with. I'm going to give you exactly 30 seconds to sort of, you know, explain who you are. And I'm going to give you like no instructions on how to actually do this because it's supposed to be a little bit up to you. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. And if you don't need the whole 30 seconds too, just let me know.
Alright.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, I'm Tessa. I've lived in Niwot my whole life. I'm on a couple sports teams, like the cross country and track team. And I'm also in a couple clubs here at Niwot, so the environmental club and the garden club and sources of strength team. But yeah, I guess I had two brothers that went through Niwot, and that's really what I can think of.
Okay, perfect. So you brought up a lot about the clubs, and that was sort of the first thing you went to. Should we talk about that first?
Sure.
So can you please rename the clubs that you were in?
Yeah, so I'm in environmental club and garden club. I think it's Sources of Strength is not really a club, but it's like a club-ish thing.
A club-ish thing. What do you do in Sources of Strength?
Well, currently we meet every, I think it's second and fourth Friday of the month, and we kind of discuss ways to bring the Niwot community together in ways that kind of promote mental health. And it's supposed to be a suicide prevention kind of thing, but it's really focusing on the mental health of students and how we can improve our sources of strength. And if you've seen the wheel around school, there's like 8 sources that you can uh, kind of get support from. Yeah.
I've seen like Latito's basketball.
Yes,
Is that
Lakita's
part of that
basketball
too?
has
Okay.
all the sources on it.
So the other one was Garden Club, and I guess Garden Club and Environmental Club, those are both actual clubs. How does one get into those? Do they have to talk to a certain person if they want to get into those?
So, Garden Club, me and Amelia are both co-presidents. So if you want to join that, just you can reach out to one of us, and you'll be able to join. And that's club super informal, so we'll just be able to bring you into like, the group chat, and we'll plant some plants together. And for Environmental Club, we have a 5-person steering committee, and you can talk to any of us. So that'd be me, Maya, Victor, Mercer, or Simon, and we can get you into the club. But yeah.
Cool. And so I don't know if this was stated yet. You're a junior,
Yes.
right? Yes. And you and I are both finishing up our first year of IB. How's that going for you?
A little stressful. I'm not gonna lie. It's been pretty good. As long as you stay on top of everything, it tends to work out pretty well. But there's definitely those weeks where the deadlines get over your head and then you get a little stressed out. But
Yeah. So for any incoming juniors, what do you have any advice for them? Something that really helped you and made a difference in IB.
yeah, so before I joined IB, I was kind of scoping it out and talking to the other seniors and juniors. And the advice that they gave me was just stay on top of your work. Don't get behind because then it gets way overwhelming. So that's what I've been trying to do, and it seems to work pretty well. But yeah, and also just don't think it's some major, huge thing. Like just go into IB and be like, this is what I'm doing, and be confident that you'll be able to do it because you will be able to do it.
Yeah, and I also don't want to understate what you just said about staying on top of your work. That's super important, especially in IB. And if you've been taking honors classes or something, it all works out. It's sort of just a gentle curve upwards,
Yeah.
sort of natural progression. So the reason that we're here is to talk about your CAS project for IB. If you don't know, a CAS project is something that all people in IB have to do. It's sort of a graduation requirement to get the IB diploma. Um, it's a student-initiated project, and well, I thought Tessa's was very interesting, and I wanted to get her on and talk about it. Um, would you like to quickly introduce it real
Sure.
quick?
Yeah. So it's something that I hope all you guys now students will be kind of excited about. So through the environmental club, my class project is making an outdoor classroom. And so we're hoping to have some stumps that can be rearranged into Socratic seminar styles, and also some tables that you can do group work at. And that will be located outside of the building near the counseling offices, where there's that concrete pad to the west of the building. But yeah.
So what made you choose this particular project? Because when it comes to the cast project, there's really not a whole lot of requirement, or there's a few requirements, but there's not a whole lot of guidelines that really force everyone to pick the same thing. I know in like a lot of times people do school murals or they do food drives or something like that. This one's a lot different than something like that, or the something that we've seen a lot of the time. Why did you choose this in particular?
Yeah, so I basically wanted to do something through the environmental club because I was way stressed out and didn't know what I should do. And since I had that resource, I definitely wanted to use it. And so the environmental club last year, we got a $6,000 grant, and we kind of had to spend that by this year. We wanted to decide what we are doing, and there was a lot of different options, but COVID kind of restricted a lot of them. So we kind of had to settle on something that didn't. It wasn't gonna be stopped by COVID and all the regulations with that. So one of the options was an outdoor classroom, and I just thought that sounded super cool. And so I talked to the club and the other committee members, and we were all like, "Yeah, this sounds cool. We can do that." And I'm kind of taking the lead in some of that to count for my cast project. But yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess the other reason that I'm bringing this up too is that I hear you get asked a lot of questions about it, and because I'm normally with you, we have all the same classes. I get to hear you repeat the same answers to all the same questions every time. So these are just a few of the questions that I keep hearing popping up. When do you think we'll be able to use them?
Yeah, so the timeline has progressively gotten further back. Just that's kind of how construction projects tend to work. But we have been in contact with some construction companies, and we have the budget, so we'll be ready to have that classroom up and running by the beginning of next year.
Beginning of next year. Cool. So, second one, how can you leave them up all year, or are there certain things that you can do to extend the amount of time that we can use them? What time do you think we'll be able to use them in the year?
Yeah, so that's kind of an issue with the Colorado climate. It's a lot of the school year is not really pleasant to be outside, and so we tried to adjust that with kind of thinking about getting deciduous trees, so the leaves will fall off when it's cold outside and you'll get more sunlight, and then when it's really warm outside they'll have leaves and they'll provide the shade. But there will be a good amount of the year that it might not be very pleasant to be outside.
Especially this year, we get a lot of late snow this year.
Yeah.
Seems not to go away. Um, so, what sort of steps do you have to do to complete something like this? This is a pretty big project. Like, can you describe the process that you've gone through so far?
Yeah, so it has been like a bit of a process. Luckily, I haven't been the only one working on it. There's a lot of people from Environmental Club that are pretty invested, and we've been working with a lot of people around the district. So like we started off with calling other schools in St. Vrain district that had recently made outdoor classrooms. We kind of learned what their budgets were, and kind of what they used and everything like that. And then we started kind of making a design, and we reached out to our district architects and we talked to them, and we also worked with Mr. Roshkob, and we had to change a lot of plans a lot of times, but we kind of finally had it solidified, and then we started reaching out to construction companies.
Cool. So, if someone like this in the future wants to do a project that, of this scale, where would you say is the best place to start? Where were some spots that you had issues that you can um, clear up, I guess?
Yeah, I think funding probably is the biggest one, because if you don't have the funding to do a big project like this, you're not going to be able to do it. So if you start out and you apply for a grant, and yet once you have a single grant that you have some money, it's easier, in my opinion, to raise more money off of that. So we started, luckily, I was involved in the process of getting the $6,000 in the beginning. And so that was a good jumping off point, because that was a lot of money to start with. And then we were able to apply to a ton more grants and get a ton more money. So yeah, I guess kind of just focusing on getting your funding and then talking to people around the community that are able to support you and know what you're doing and how to get that done.
And that's where you would say you'd probably start in that process too?
I would okay. Maybe that's like step 2. I guess
Mm-hmm.
step 1 would be talking to other people that have done similar projects and stuff.
Okay, cool. That's that's a good. Yeah, I guess that's probably something you should do. You said
Yeah.
that other schools were doing something similar to this too?
Yeah, there's been some more building of outdoor classrooms recently as we kind of realize the impact that being outside has on your mental health. And I'm pretty sure Coleridge has one, and then Northridge Elementary School. This might be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure those are the 2 places we reached out to, and they gave us a lot of useful information. So,
Okay, interesting. So, on the part of mental health, do you know any more about that? Because that's sort of interesting. Because I know that a lot of the time, people criticize the school for not having enough windows, for not being outside enough, and there have been steps to um, open up the school a lot more and get a lot more natural light in here. But you know, there are definitely a few classrooms that could use a few windows,
yes.
and if getting people outside more would probably be beneficial to their health. Do you want to expand on that a little more? Or?
Yeah, so like as you said, a lot of people are like, what's a dungeon kind of thing where there's like no windows and it's kind of sad, and we have a lot of interior classrooms. But when we were kind of pitching this idea to a lot of different grants and everything, we looked up at the mental health effects and we kind of focused on those. And it's like reducing stress, reducing anxiety, and just being able to be outside and like breathe that fresh air kind of lets you focus on your assignments and everything like that. And so we kind of pitched it in like being able to get better scores because we'll be able to focus more and stuff like that, because that's what will happen when you go outside.
Yeah, especially I feel like coming back to school too. A different it's a different environment when you go from being outside all day in the summer and then having to come to school and you're inside for 7 hours.
Definitely. And especially this year with like you being at home and being really flexible, like you can go outside if you need it, or you probably have more windows in your house than you might have in an interior classroom here at Niwot. And then just that transition to being all inside, and especially like wearing a mask all day, it can feel kind of confining, and being able to go outside might be good, I
Yeah.
guess.
So, can you describe what? So you lightly touched on this earlier, but can you describe what the outdoor classroom might look like to your knowledge at this point?
Yeah, so we're kind of finalizing the designs. We kind of have to get those finalized before we get final quotes for construction. So we plan to have a big circle of tree stumps for like that will be able to be moved around and stuff, and organized in different shapes for Socratic seminars, like I said before. And then on the concrete pad, there is going to be tables. I think we're not sure if we're getting new tables or just using the existing ones out there yet, but there'll be those as well. And then the grass that's currently in the spot will be replaced with crush refine or crusher fine. I always forget what it is. But that's like it's kind of the same. It's a gravelly material that's like out in the front of the school as well. And then that exterior around it will be surrounded by either bushes or trees or hedges, just to kind of maintain a natural feel. And then on the wall of the school will be a mural that we're having the art students design. So
Cool. The art students of this year.
yes.
Very interesting. Um, well, that's going to be about all I have for you today on that. It sounds super interesting, and I'm very excited to hopefully be able to use it. But before we go, do you think you'll give priority to certain classes on using the outdoor, just so that people know what to sign up for? I guess if they want to use it.
It's totally up to the teachers. I know some are super excited about it, like Miss Devil's the sponsor, so she'll probably be using it a good amount. She's the environmental co-sponsor. And then I don't know, just kind of if your teacher is wanting to go outside, you can definitely ask them and they'll be able to sign up to use the classroom. Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you for spending a couple minutes with me talking about this. This was very insightful. Um, if you have any more questions, please feel free to email me just at josephhendershot niwot@gmail.com, and I will send those questions to Tessa and try and get you an answer. And I guess we'll see how these pop up next fall.
Yes.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on. This is the Niwot podcast. See you guys later.